Being at CppCon has been amazing because you can directly speak with the experts. I've had conversations with Bjorn Strusepp, with Sean Parent, and they're all very friendly and accessible and willing to give their opinions or advice on C++.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to What's New in Visual Studio. My name is David Lee. I'm the Game Dev Product Manager on the C++ product team.
And my name is Mryam Girmay, and I'm the C++ team's Productivity Product Manager.
We have an action-packed agenda for all of you today. First, we'll talk about standards and the conformance of standards, as well as some new updates to how you can make your code safer. Then, we'll get into how Visual Studio is now faster than ever, as well as MSVC toolchain. Lastly, we have quite a lot of productivity features that we have added in the past year aimed to make your productivity go up. So, before we begin, we do have some news to share. Please join us on the Visual Studio Discord channel by visiting the link, aka.ms/cppcon/discord, and visit our booth. We're here for the rest of today, but of course, if you ever see one of us roaming around the halls, feel free to say hi. And lastly, please take our survey. This year, we have amazing survey prizes. As you can see in front of us, we have a Visual Studio branded duffel bag, as well as a backpack. We have 4 items to raffle off.
Yes, and we'll be announcing the winner on Thursday, right before Herb's keynote session, under the name Cooperative C++ Evolution. By the way, our survey is not only for Microsoft customers, but for everyone, since our C++ product team's mission is to empower every C++ developer and their teams to achieve more. And we tend to work on this by contributing to the development of C++ standards, supporting MSVC compiler and libraries, and by making it easier for you to get C++ tools through VCPackage, which is our open source package manager, it's the largest one, and also by improving the C++ experience and IDE of Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. And to do this, your inputs are very crucial to us. So please take your time to fill out our survey. And for those of you who are interested on Visual Studio Code, on Thursday, Alex and Sinan will have a session showing you how Visual Studio Code can help you develop more efficiently in C++. And they will be using the free open source code editor we have, and which is the #1 most used code editor according to Stack Overflow. However, our today's session will be about Visual Studio. You have already seen our agenda. To start with Confirmance, okay? Last year here at CppCon, we have announced that in our Confirmance, compiler support and stack trace were feature complete for C++ 23. And we were still working on module support and standard library modules. And this year, we are happy to inform you that we have modularized standard library and added some studprint and some ranges. We are still working on module support, and there's 9 remaining C++ ACL features, 5 of them being compiler dependent. Saying this, if you wanted to try out our C++ 23 features, you need to switch to C++ stud C++ latest. And our C++ 20 has been complete and production ready, and we wanted to remind all of you to start adapting it into your own code base. Saying that, our first announcement is most C++ 20 features are now ready for our C++ and CLI projects. Saying this, be noted that the support for module import under clear is still not included in this release. And you can learn more about it at aka.ms/cpp20-cpp CLI. And we also have added C11 thread support. This implementation essentially brings the optional C11 threading library into our toolkit. Now, what does this mean for you as C++ developers? It means we are equipping you with powerful tools to enhance your multi-threading capabilities. In this, we have included some essential features such as metaaxes, condition variables, and also thread-specific storages. You can learn more about it at aka.ms/c11-threads. Okay, since last year, we have added 10 new checks into our static analysis toolset. These checks cover a wide range of issues, including high confidence lifetime checks, data calculation, and some more. And also, right now, when you have warnings, you won't just wonder why, because the key events will inform you the details behind those warnings. And our static analysis performance has increased up to 20%, while its memory usage has decreased significantly this year. And for those of you who are interested to learn more about this, we had a session on Monday, a great session by Gabor, and then you can watch it on demand.
In the theme of code safety, we're also very excited to announce that Azure Sanitizer's Continue on Error mode is now available. Azure Sanitizer helps you find hard-to-find memory safety issues. And with the new Continue on Error mode, your test or your program will continue to run while Azure Sanitizer collects all the reports. This enables you to have a new shipping gate for C++ on Windows. To find out more, please visit aka.ms/asan-coe for more details. Now, let's talk about performance.
All right, for our performance, we wanted to start by informing you the first fully supported ARM64 version of Visual Studio is now running natively. This delivers the native ARM64 experience for Visual Studio without the need for emulation. ARM64 version of CMake and Ninja are included in this toolchain, and also is available for C++ desktops and game development workloads. And not only this, we also have added improvements into our backend. In this, we have made optimization into our MSVC backend. And we have made improvements to the core system of our compiler. This optimization is beneficial to all users regardless of the machine or architecture you're working on. Also, it includes optimization for both scalar and vector instructions, making sure your ARM64-based project to run very smoothly. Let's show you some examples we have here. Okay, so one optimization we have made is on pattern matching vector instructions. Here's a function which calculates an element-wise absolute difference of RAB and C, storing the result in A. And this is the x64 code before we optimized this pattern. The main body of this function is rather long for a very simple calculation. Now, MSVC recognizes this pattern and generates the VP sub D and VP abs D instructions to perform a subtraction followed by an absolute value computation. Much better, right? This is a machine-independent optimization. Also, we have another one. One ARM64 specific improvement is in optimizing Boolean negations. Here's a function dir_meow, which just returns the complement of dir_meow. And here is the code before our optimization was added. It calls meow, then performs a compare and conditional set to negate the results. And now, here's the improved code. Instead of doing compare and cset, it simply performs an exclusive OR with 1.
Not only do we have backend optimizations, this year we're back with more build throughput improvements. Your LTCG build time will now be sped up. As measured by some of the industry's largest games and applications, by using the latest MSVC toolchain, you will speed up your build throughput. Every year, we encourage you to upgrade your toolchain to the latest one, and this year is no different. our engineering team has been hard at work to give you more build throughput and save you time. But not only that, let's say if you're still not satisfied with these build throughput improvements, and you just want to squeeze a little bit more time, out. Well, I'm very happy to announce that Build Insights is now integrated with Visual Studio 2022. Backed by MSVC's trace capture technology, you can capture your trace for your MS Build and CMake projects all from within Visual Studio. After the trace is captured, it will then turn into a report in which, from within Visual Studio, you'll see relevant information such as expensive includes, whether you want to check out your include tree or see function generation time. Or we even show you the size of forced inlinings. From those screens, you can directly navigate to the files. And for advanced users out there, Windows Performance Analyzer is now bundled with Build Insights. You can directly open your trace file in WPA to investigate even more. Aside from the backend and toolchain improvements, we have also been focusing on making Visual Studio faster. We learned a lot and heard a lot of feedbacks from all of you. So thank you so much for giving us comments from the surveys as well as the developer community. This year, we continue to focus on scenarios that will help you get to code quicker. We worked on both the first-time scenarios, this is when you load the project for the first time, and subsequent scenarios. Now you'll get to code faster, you'll load solution much quicker, and even though these seconds are small, we hope that throughout your day and your development cycle will help you shave off those valuable seconds and let you focus on other stuff, such as your code. And of course, we also improved the debug launch performance for all projects. By optimizing the way that we open PDBs, all projects will now benefit for a debug launch performance. The time it takes for F5 to finish its operation is now much faster. This improvement is particularly benefits for those of you debugging managed code, but with debugging native code. But with managed debugging, those of you who have non-portable PDBs will also see some benefits. To find out more information, please visit aka.ms/cpp/vsperformance for more details. Not only that, we have also improved the debug build performance by introducing MSVC Intrinsic. Once again, I want to give a shout out to all of you who give us feedback, especially Vittorio Romeo. Vittorio's blogs spurred us to take action as we heard from the community the pain around debug build performance. Now, STL name casts such as stood move and stood forward will be inlined at all optimization levels. And they can be added to your own defined functions and function templates. Visit aka.ms/MSVC Intrinsic for more details. So that was all about the speed.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some of the features and the productivity tools we added in the past year. In VS Debugger, we have added the ability for you to manage your breakpoints by introducing breakpoint groups, as well as allowing them to have conditions so that you can set a conditional breakpoint and have a group of breakpoints dependent on that condition. Also, .NET JMC and .NET Step Filter are now supported within individual solutions for better collaboration. These files will be treated just like any other files in your repo. We hope that this change will help you collaborate with your team even better. And as a special sneak peek, In the newest versions of Visual Studio, coming soon, you'll now be able to view instruction pointers for functions and modules view. You can see all of the information related to the instruction pointers, such as inline name, inline location, and even the source location. Now, let's talk about CMake Debugger.
Yes, speaking of debugger, we would like to announce that we have integrated CMake Debugger in our Visual Studio. Now, we achieved this by working with Kitware, and it's an open source software which enables you to debug your CMake script and also CMake list.txt. In this, it will give you the regular debugging experience where you'll be able to view your variable names and also call stack of your file name. If you are interested to learn more about this, go to aka.ms/cmake-debugger.
For those of you who are using package managers, and for those of you who may or may not be using VCPackage, we have made a ton of improvements to VCPackage in the past year. VCPackage is our open source package manager for Windows, Linux, and Mac, and it's growing every day. VCPackage now has over 2,200 popular open source libraries available for you. VCPackage is also enterprise ready. We have great stories we hear from our external customers and also internal teams from within Microsoft. With VCPackage, you can set a manifest, such as using the vcpkg.json file to list your dependencies and also specify versions. VCPackage has a particularly good way to avoid daemon issues by letting you acquire all your packages at once. And of course, continuity of business is important. With asset caching, you can ensure that your dependencies are not touched at an event if a dependency gets pulled from the upstream source or if it changes. And we're proud to announce that Visual Studio is now shipping VCPackage. In the VS installer, you can find VCPackage Package Manager in the C++ desktop or C++ gaming workloads. You will no longer have a need to bootstrap, and currently, the included component supports manifest mode only. For more information, please visit vcpackage-inbox for more details. So that was a great round of announcements. But let us show you how this works in action and how you can see how some of these things work and take it back to your own code base. For this demo, we're using Mryam, a roguelike dungeon crawler that is a text-based game made with CMake. After getting the repo from GitHub, Visual Studio will then attempt to generate your CMake project. As you can see here, Visual Studio has detected an error with CMake generation. All right. With the new CMake Debugger, let's find out what is happening in detail. This CMake Debugger will give you a familiar debugging experience. And as you can see here, CMake is having trouble finding two dependencies, PD curses as well as N curses. OK, let's try to fix this with VCPackage. You can either go to View and open up a terminal, or you can use the all-in-one search. So now let's bring up a terminal prompt and set up VCPackage with vcpackage new -- application. This command will generate two files for you: vcpackage-configuration.json and vcpackage.json. In the latter, this is where we can put our dependencies. So now let's insert both PD curses for Windows platform and ncurses for non-Windows platforms. With the dependency issues fixed, we can then save and regenerate our CMake project. You can go to Project, and then delete and regenerate. Now, CMake will run VCPackage install and fetch all your dependencies for you. Just curious, who out here raise your hands if you're using a package manager? Okay, good amount of hands. And raise your hands if you're using VCPackage. Okay, what about Conan? Okay, good. What else didn't I mention? Feel free to shout it out. All right, I guess we got the two most popular package managers in the house. Okay, now with the CMake project finished generation, why don't we apply some of our C++ skills and try to find some issues with this code base. So let's switch to CMake's targets view by either going to the view menu, or you can right-click on the Solution Explorer. In the CMake targets view, why don't we just inspect the first CPP file? OK. After the file has finished loading, we see a warning. Static analysis has found a buffer overflow error. Why don't we double-click on this and see what's happening? With the new problem details window, you can see key events that led to the decision where, as you can see here, on line 250, it's attempting an invalid write. When the range is expecting 0 to 59, we're passing 60 to it. OK, let's close this and hover over that line. There we can see once again that this is a buffer overrun issue. OK, so great. We have used static analysis. Now let's run address sanitizer to see if we can catch any more bugs. To do so, we wrote a small test program. With address sanitizers continue on error mode, the little test program will keep running, and address sanitizer will collect all of the errors. So before we start, let's make sure that address sanitizer is enabled. You can go to CMake presets.json, go to your Windows-based, and then environment, you can see here, fsanitize equals to address is on, and also ascent options continue on error equals to 1. You can choose 1 or 2, and the different options will put all your output either in standard error or standard out. OK, now why don't we debug and see what address sanitizer will catch. OK, that seems going great. So now, as you can see here, the debug program is running. And OK, the test has finished. Right away, you see line 250 is also caught by address sanitizer, the same error that we saw before. But address sanitizer has also caught a new error. There's a stack buffer overflow on line 217. Good. We caught another potential fatal mistake. Let's close this test and go back to line 217 and investigate. OK, here, history block, we're trying to pass 240. Great, thanks, Azure Sanitizer. All right, so that was 2 of the great safety features that we have added in Visual Studio. We hope that you'll use both in combination to find those tough-to-find memory safety bugs. Now let's show you some of the new productivity features in Visual Studio. Let's open up a different CPP file named ui_.cpp. As we scroll through this file, you can see up on top, there is the sticky scroll. Sticky scroll in combination of brace pair colorization is meant to reduce the burden you have while reading your code. We heard how annoying it was for some of you out there to scroll up and down, especially if you have really long functions and deeply nested functions. Sticky scroll is also customizable, so you can choose if you want how many lines to be sticky up to the top. OK, now let's scroll down to line 73. On line 73, we have a macro. I know some of you out there may not like macros. Some of you out there may like macros. But we have added a macro expansion feature to Visual Studio. Once you hover, the pop-up will show you the full expansion, as well as to give you an option to copy, expand inline, so you can inspect the unrolled macro within your code. You can also visualize the expansion step by step. By clicking the left and right arrows, you can see how your macro unrolls. Once again, we'd like to reiterate how important your feedback is to us. We have chatted with quite a lot of Unreal Engine developers who have told us some of the issues they have while coding around multiple overloads or very complex macros. So even though this feature is not Unreal Engine specific, the game developer feedback has definitely helped us build a feature that will help all C++ developers. All right. One last thing that I want to show you that's new part of the IDE is spell checker. Let's add a new variable called player. As you can see here, we spelled it wrong. We're probably thinking about a beach or something. Now, Visual Studio will give you some hints that, hey, spell checker has found that you might have misspelled a variable. From there, you can either ignore the spelling if it's intended, or Visual Studio will detect your locality in your dictionaries and suggest a fix for you. So here, let's rename from player to player. The rename prompt will then look through your entire code base and rename that one specific symbol you chose to ask, that you chose. All right, let's complete this operation. OK, so now that we have explored the code, maybe we have found some bugs, let's analyze build performance. Why don't we run build insights on this code base? Let's do so by going to build, run build insights, and rebuild this project. Previously, we have heard how painful it was when you had to open up a command prompt, start build insights, build your project, then okay, maybe you try really hard to remember that your project has finished building, then go back to the command prompt and stop the collection. Now, you can do it all from within Visual Studio. After the trace is captured, a new diagnostic page, a report, will show up. Here, you can see the build has taken 17 seconds, roughly. We have several tabs that are important, such as include tree, a functions view, and events view. For now, let's focus on the included files. As you can see here, we have added a flame icon to all of your headers that are taking more than 10% of the build. Let's open up the first one. Here, headers.h is included by all of these CPP files. All right, now let's open up config.cpp and see what we can do. Immediately, you'll see that headers.h has dimmed. This is thanks to the new include cleanup feature in Visual Studio. Now Visual Studio will give you suggestions to either remove your unused includes, all of them, or this is what we recommend, the third option, add transitively used and remove all unused includes. You can also access this menu at any time by right-clicking and going to the Include Directives menu. So now let's add some transitively used. As you can hear, as you can see, we have added 2 headers. But as a caveat here, as we're currently working to improve include cleanup, for special cases where in this file we have externed some of the variables, make sure to also add include config, the header file where we put all those variables. So now we can go and rerun the reports. But for time's sake, you can just imagine we went there and fixed all those C++ files. The next time you run it, you can see your inclusion count go down, as well as your build time. So that's it for the demo. We hope you learned a lot. But let's get back to the talk.
All right. So in our first demo, you have already seen how include cleanup and visualize macro expansion works. I wanted to highlight that we have more features, such as size and alignment, which is now when you have class, struct, or union, you don't have to write a piece of code to see their size. You can just hover over their name, and their size and alignment will pop up in a small tooltip. And also, when you write a member function and you forgot to mark it as constant, now we have make member function constant feature, which will suggest you to do so. So it doesn't modify your objects. And for our core editor improvements, you have already seen all of this in our demo. I just wanted to highlight for spell checker, you can customize it in the .editor config. And for our all-in-one search, you have seen that the search and code search UI is the same one. And also now you can preview and also edit your code in the search window. All right. Another announcement we have is structured diagnostics. Now we can use this feature in order to view the hierarchical structure behind the compiler errors you get. And then you can expand or collapse if you wanted to see more or less errors. And we achieved this feature by using the serif standard format for diagnostics. Now, we will show you a quick demo on how this can be effective. All right. Okay. As most of you have already experienced it, once you start to get into standard library templates that have nested concepts or something like that, to navigate through your errors becomes very difficult. Let me show you how the old experience has some issues. Now, this is my small demo, my small project. I have declared some templates that have concepts, and in there, my classes can have member feed or default implementation. And here, when I try to feed my dog, something is not working. Let's rebuild and see what the error is. So right-click on my project, rebuild. Okay. me make this bigger. Now here, the compiler is outputting as a text. It's telling me something about my compiler can find how to feed my dog. And below it, it's telling me what it's trying to do and also what it didn't find in some of those places. But there is no structure here. And it makes it hard to understand and it to read because there is no which ones comes first, which ones come next kind of ways here. And if we check our error list, we have an error, and then we have messages below it. Here, we're not sure which message is related to this error, or if there is any order, which message is coming first, which one is coming next. Now let's add another compiler error and see how this is going to look. Let's just delete one of the arrows in the C output, save it, and rebuild it. Okay? Now, as you can see, my compiler is still outputting as a text. And the output still looks, it even looks uglier, because there's a lot of errors, messages, and there's still no structure here. And if we see our error list, there is more error, there's a lot of messages, and there's nothing that informs us which message is related to which error. By the way, this is what most developers experience once you start using to standard libraries and you do something wrong. You have no idea what's going on, you don't know how to parse it, you just get hit with a massive error. Now, to solve this, let's enable structured diagnostics. To do so, right-click on my project, go to Property, and in Advanced, let's enable MSPC structured output. Okay, let's rebuild my project. Okay, here now the compiler is outputting not as a text, but as a structure. It's telling me this is my main error, and what's below it is more details about that error, so I can understand what is related to that error. So this makes it more readable and more understandable because it's structured. And if we check our error list, now instead of receiving a massive template error messages, we get to see the few tab-level issues. And if you wanted to see the hierarchical structure behind these details, you can double-click on the error. A problems details window will pop up, and you can expand to see the structured details behind that error. Or you can collapse it if you wanted to see few details. Now, this is the structured diagnostics feature we worked on. It's available in Visual Studio 2022, version 17.8, preview 3. And try it out and let us know what you think so we can improve it accordingly. Let's go back to our slide. Okay. Speaking of diagnostics, we have a feature that's coming soon named Pound Include Diagnostics. This will enable you to analyze your includes so that you will be able to see the usage reference, which is how many times it has been used and where it has been used. Not only this, you will also be able to see the build time and the intelligence parse time of the includes so that you will understand what each include is doing, and then you can act on them accordingly.
All right, now let's talk about video games. Over the past year, we have been collaborating with Epic Games, as well as two of our internal AAA studios, Rare and the Coalition, to bring you first-class Unreal Engine integrations in Visual Studio. Visual Studio offers a best-in-class editing and debugging experience and will simplify code management for you. Now, more than ever, Unreal Engine tools are closer to the editing experience, so you can stay focused on your code. Let me show you how some of these features work. By installing our Unreal Engine plugin, you'll be able to see blueprint references in the form of a code lens hint, and also search for blueprint references. You can also manage and run your Unreal Engine tests in Visual Studio. As I mentioned before, our Unreal plugin is required, And you can get started by visiting aka.ms/cpp/Unreal. But we also have a ton of features that do not require the use of the plugin. We have added several code analysis tools for Unreal Engine developers. You can now see Unreal header tool warnings, as well as see suggestions if your naming convention does not conform to the Epic Games UE naming standard. I also have to point out that this naming convention feature is also an experimental feature. If you have your own definitions, you can use the .editor.config file to trigger the naming convention. And also, the last one is it's more that we fixed a bug that is not a feature. We heard so many people tell us, it can get so annoying as you're typing Unreal macros and Visual Studio will indent for you. Don't worry, we have fixed that in Visual Studio. Next time you type an Unreal macro and you hit new line, Visual Studio will respect Epic Games Unreal Engine styling. Also, to give you more focus into your code, you can stream UE logs from Visual Studio. You can code quicker with a set of macro snippets. And coming soon, you'll soon be able to see reflection specifier suggestions in Visual Studio. Let's say your game targets multiple platforms, or even if you're working on an application that is not a game. We want to let you know that CMake integration is a first-class experience in Visual Studio. As you see in our demo, you can very easily set up CMake projects. And you can also seamlessly on-ramp to CI with CMake presets.json. As we showed in our demo, this year, we have added CMake Debugger and improved the target view.
All right, and for our Linux developers, last year we had announced that we supported WSL2, interactive SSH, and also CMake preset. And this year we are excited to inform you that now you will be able to automatically install WSL from Visual Studio. And also, if you wanted to open your files from your remote file explorer, you can do it without leaving Visual Studio. And not only this, for those of you who wanted to debug your Linux app, you can do it in the integrated terminals we have. And for our embedded developers, you can add the Linux and embedded workload. In there, we support the on-chip debugging with all your hardware breakpoint limits. And also, you can view the embedded register and the RTOS. There, you can use the serial monitor to communicate over your serial ports.
Next, we're very excited to announce that GitHub Copilot chat is now in public beta. With Copilot, it can generate lines, functions, it can generate either comments or turn comments into code. For C++ developers, we have seen great benefits to use Copilot to help you understand your exceptions, your warnings, and Copilot will also suggest fixes. And of course, whenever you're on-ramping to a new code base, you can ask Copilot to help you understand what the code base is all about. For more information, please visit aka.ms/copilot-chat-vs for more details. Once again, we would like to reiterate, we value your feedback. Please make your voice heard by letting us know in this year's CppCon survey and on developer community. The engineering team has been hard at work to address top developer community suggestion tickets. And this year, we're happy to share that we have started working on leak sanitizer support, as well as additional integrations for build-in sites. Send us your ideas and your suggestions at aka.ms/cpp/suggest. We want to reiterate that the feedback will not only help all of you using Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, but as our mission says, we want to empower all of you out there and your teams to do more. We have one more announcement. This morning, we have released a blog announcing that the IFC SDK for C++ is now available open source under the Apache 2 with LLVM exceptions license. This is Microsoft's implementation of the IFC specification. In the SDK, we have provided source code, data types, some utilities and examples that will help you and support you write and read IFC files. We hope that you can use this SDK so we can all accelerate the C++ modules adoption process. We encourage all of you to check out the repository at github.com/Microsoft/IFC. Please download it, build it, experiment with it, and most importantly, contribute to it. Please enjoy the rest of the conference, visit us at the booth, and don't forget to fill out the survey. We still have a ton of Visual Studio socks, hacky sacks, and charging tools, and this year we have 2 backpacks and 2 duffel bags available for you.
Cool. I wanted to remind you that we will be announcing the winner on Thursday, right before Herb's keynote speech. And also on Thursday, if you like our session, Alex and Sunan will show similar thing, but about VS Code. And Victor have a session under regular revisited. On Friday, Michael will cover getting started with C++. And for those of you who are interested about the sessions that happened this Monday, you can watch them on demand. Thank you. Happy coding.
If you have any questions, please feel free to come up and ask.
Hi there. I'm in an offline development network, so I was really intrigued to see that Visual Studio will offer WSL. So does that mean I'll get a WSL2, some flavor of Linux automatically baked into it'll add that into my Windows and I won't have to go out to the Microsoft Store to get a WSL?
Yeah, this year we have definitely simplified the WSL acquisition process. In Visual Studio, you'll be able to click Install WSL for me. Then Visual Studio will run a series of checks to make sure your system is compatible. And once you see all the lights turn green, you just press Install, and WSL will be automatically installed for you.
Okay. Another question for those of us that are still on 2019, as they discover, if you all discover things with C++20 standard that need to be fixed or improved, what type of fixes get sent back to 2019, or maybe even enhancements versus only bug fixes, or 2017 kind of got cut off and really only got security updates, which didn't help me as a developer.
Yeah, so we definitely encourage you to upgrade to the latest version of Visual Studio. In terms of backporting stuff, at least for Visual Studio 2019, only for security fixes and vulnerabilities.
Okay.
So features-wise, most of the features will be available in Visual Studio 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the talk. I had 2 questions about the include cleanup. Firstly, in the example you showed, I assume it was the case that headers.h included those 2 headers and they were just transitively included and that's what it cleaned up. So how does that play nice with precompiled headers?
So we have editor config. You can customize it as you wanted it. So you can add include as you wanted to exclude. or if you have dependent encoders, you can add them there. You can specify it, so we won't generate suggestions so that you remove it.
Okay.
So we have that.
And then the other question was, can that be run on like a folder or a project, or that has to be per file?
It works for .cpp and for .h files so far.
Could you repeat that, sorry?
For .cpp and .h files.
Okay, but you have to do them one at a time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, thanks for the talk. For the integration of VCPackage into Visual Studio, how does it manage updating Visual or VCPackage and getting the latest port files and stuff as you're working with it?
So the component that you find on Visual Studio is a little bit different than the VCPackage you found, because we're still working on certain modes. For example, right now only Manifest is supported with the components. But as we continue to develop this, you will see more supported in the included version of VCPackage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And for the other part of information, I'm not able to give you a good answer, but please come back to the booth, and someone there will be able to answer that question for you.
Okay, cool. Because I have issues with managing like the baseline version for VCPackage and you keeping that up to date and everything. So I'm curious how that would be handled.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come to our booth and chat with us.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, thank you everyone for attending. Please, if you use VS Code, we also have a session the same time on Thursday covering the same topics, but for VS Code. Don't miss that one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.